the words that you say about your life, they can either build you or break you. But also, do not say things that you yourself are not willing to endure. Take your problems to God in prayer and have faith that God can be able to answer your prayer. And in doing so, God will turn your little something into something big. But if you have faith. Greetings once again and welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back. Now, if you're new to the channel, make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you do not miss when a new video pops up, right? Now, keep in mind, guys, that you are now available on TikTok at sinnersafeby_grace, and you can be sure to find us as well on that platform. Now, you can also find us, and this is to my podcasters, on YouTube at Ashley Gerera, and you can be sure to follow us as well on that platform. Now, also, guys, keep in mind that you are now available on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Overcast, as well as on Amazon Music, and you can be sure to follow us as well on any of those 6 different platforms. Now today, guys, we are going to be talking about leveling up your prayer life. How do you level up? Do you just remain on one level? Now also, we are going to be talking about God can turn the little something that you have into something big only if you do this. So what is this that you should do for God to turn the little something that you have into something that is big, right? So that is what we are going to be talking about today. And I'm sure you've probably heard a say that little is much when God is in it. So what is this little that God can turn from little to something big, right? And that is what we're going to be talking about today. Now, to find out more, stick around. Now, we are going to be reading from the book of 1 Kings chapter 17, verse 23 and 24 as well, right? That's where we're going to be getting our context for today. So verse 23 reads as follows. And Elijah took the child and brought him down out of the chamber into the house and delivered him unto his mother. And Elijah said, See, thy son liveth. And the woman said to Elijah, Now by this I know that thou art man of God, and that the word of the Lord in thy mouth is truth. Now, question, what had happened before that, right? Now you might be asking yourself, okay, so how did the people end up being in the chamber? How then did this guy end up saying to himself, here's your son, see, he liveth, right? So then if we look back at the previous, or if we also look back at the previous episode, guys, we talked about how God then came into the picture because of the words that Elijah had said. And we said we should be watchful of the words that we say, right? And we also should be able to live through the things that we have asked for through the way that we speak. And if you have not watched that episode, I'll leave the link right here so that you'll be able to watch it, right? But for today, guys, if you go back to chapter 10, or no, not chapter 10, verse 10, the Bible then says that, so Elijah arose and went to Zarephath. And when he got there, he found this woman was picking up twigs, and I'll just summarize the whole thing. When he found this woman was picking up twigs, he then asked her, I need bread to eat, I need this and this to eat, I need this to drink. Now remember, guys, this was a time of drought, right? This was a time of drought. So now it comes to this woman, ask her, I need water, I need a cake to eat. So in all these things, this woman then says, no, the little that I have, keep that in mind, guys. This just says, the little that I have is just for me and my son. I just have just a handful for me and my son to just eat and then die on top of that, right? So in Elijah, in doing all these things, he then says, no, don't do that. Rather cook me the cake that I'm asking for. And then all these things, in having the little, whatever it is that you have, is not going to stop. The little oil that you're complaining about is not going to stop as well, right? It's going to keep on coming and coming and coming and coming. So the woman then decides to say, you know what, I'm just going to listen to this guy. And she goes forth and to do all these things that she does. Now, as time goes by and all of these things are happening, now it comes to a point whereby now the son of this woman falls sick, and then the Bible then records that the son ends up dying, right? So when the son dies, and then all of the woman comes to him and says, why did this thing happen? Why did you allow this? Are you coming here to remind me of my sin and all of that? Then Elijah takes the woman and takes her to the upper room, and then he prays for the kid and lies on top of the kid 3 times, and then the kid then arises. Then that's when we come to verse 23 and verse 24, where then he comes back down the chamber with the child and says, see, your child liveth. So then what is our message for today. Now keep in mind, guys, our topic for today says that God can turn your little something into something big only if you do this, right? Now keep in mind, for all of this to end up happening, guys, remember, and I want us to commend something, guys. Let us commend the generosity of this woman, right? Let us commend the generosity of this woman, right? As she was out there, this is a time of drought, and she meets a strange man. Remember, the message came to Elijah and not the woman, right? To go to this woman and look for food, right? And we talked about this on the previous episode. So make sure that you watch it, guys, so that you understand what we're talking about today. So then the message came to Elijah. It didn't come to this woman. So this woman did not know who Elijah was, right? So as she's doing these things, she shows generosity to him, and she shows him accommodation. She shows him, all these things, and she's able to feed him, right? So all these things happened because she was also generous. So then the question then comes to you today: how many of us, or now this question then I can pose it to the women as well, or ladies, whatever bracket you want to put yourself in, right? So how many of you would meeting someone, having the least that you have, right? The least that you have, how many of you would then take that least that you have and also be willing to share it with a stranger, just like what this woman did, right? How many of you would be able to do that? Now, I don't know who's watching this, but you asking yourself today, and you have the question, and your heart is telling you, and some are saying, probably me, share the little that I have with a stranger, a man on top of that. That's not going to happen. That's definitely not going to be me. And some are saying, maybe I would do that. But guys, keep in mind, this is a stranger, and on top of that, a man that you don't know on top of that, right? So also, guys, just to add spice on top of that as well, not only is he a man as well, but this little that you have, right, is only for you and your son, right? Keep that in mind. It's for you and your son. Would you share the little that you have? Or you tell this man, you know what? I don't know you, and what you're saying does not make sense to me, so I am not going to do anything that you're going to tell me, right? Now you know the response to that, and you know what you would probably do. But this woman takes the little that she has, even though first of all she says, this is only for me and my son. She still goes further to say, you know what? Let me just do what this man says, right? And in the end, we then see that it shows that all the oil that she had, it never ran out until the rain came, as the prophet of God had said. Another thing also, guys, that we can then take also from this woman is that she had faith. Guys, it's not easy for someone. Just imagine someone comes to you and says, take the last money that you have, right? Someone that you clearly don't know. You've never met this person. You're just meeting them for the first time. And then you meet them and they tell you, you know what? Take the last money that you have and give it away or to something, or go and buy this, but then the money that you have is not going to run out. Would you believe that? No, would you honestly believe that? The answer is probably not. You wouldn't believe someone that you don't know just comes to you and tells you, use the last money that you have and your money is not going to run out. Guys, you think this is some superstition or something that is got to do with magic or whatever, and you wouldn't believe that. But this woman, in hearing this, she goes and still uses the oil. She goes and still uses the handful that she had, or to make the cake for her and the son to die, and she still uses it with faith, knowing that probably it's going to work out, or probably it's not going to work out, right? So that's another thing, guys. Generosity, number one. Number two, faith. And let us just keep that in. Now for the last point, guys, as we conclude this whole message, Elijah could have prayed for the boy on the ground floor, right? He could have prayed for the boy on the ground floor, but we see here that he took the boy and went to the other room that was on top. It says they went to the top floor, right? So question then comes to you today: where have you taken your problems to, right? Who have you taken your problems to today? Are you going to be like Elijah, right? Who leveled up. He didn't just do it on the first floor, but he took his problems and he went up and he asked for God to heal this boy on the upper room. Now for you today, you might not have an upper room, but I want to tell you today that when you come to God, take your prayers, take your problems to him in prayer, right? You might have tried to tell your problems to people and you think like people misunderstand you, and you feel like people don't get you, and you feel like people don't really know what you're going through, and all of those things, right? But keep in mind, take your problems to God, right? And when you take your problems to God, right, and you take them in prayer, you also go into that spiritual realm, guys, and God then is able to communicate with you, right? So that is what we then get from all of these things. So now God can turn your little something into something big. Remember, this woman had generosity. She also had faith. You cannot go to God and pray for things that and not have faith as well that He is able to do those kind of things that you are praying for. So whenever you go to God, keep in mind, have faith that God is able to answer your prayer as well, right? And in Elijah, in doing this, now in the end, the woman says that, now I do believe that you are truly a man of God. Probably this was not even done so that Elijah could show his power or anything. But because the woman had doubt as well, guys, now let us keep that in mind. Heaven had seen before, right? Heaven had seen what Elijah had done in terms of the oil and all of that. She still had doubt. So God had to show her that this is truly a man of God. So as we conclude this thing, guys, keep in mind, when you take your prayers, don't just take them to level 1, but take them up there, right? Or your problems. Don't just put your problems here and let men deal with it, because men are the ones that deal in level 1, right? Men and all of those things, they deal in level 1. But when you take them to level 2, you take them up there in prayer. And when you take them up in prayer, guess who's receiving your problems? It is God Himself. So take your problems to God in prayer and have faith that God can be able to answer your prayer. And in doing so, God will turn your little something into something big. But if you have faith, right? So keep that in mind, guys. And as we go on about your life, just have that thought, if you have faith. Jesus Christ, as He was on earth, He says that only if you believe you can move mountains, right? Only if you believe, if you have faith and you take your problems to God, right? And you tell Him, this is my situation and all of that, He will be able to come through for you. And that is the end of our message for today. May God bless you. Elijah became a fugitive and went into exile, all because of the powerful negative words that he used to create his reality. Question: which words are you using to create your reality today?